I was never really a runner. The way I see running is a gift, especially when you have stage 4 cancer. I'm Anne. I'm running the Boston Marathon, presented by Bank of America. I run for Dana-Farber Cancer Institute to give people like me a chance to thrive in life, even with cancer.
Join Bank of America in helping Anne's cause. Give if you can at BofA.com/supportAnne. What would you like the power to do? References to charitable organizations is not an endorsement by Bank of America Corporation. Copyright 2025.
Uh-oh. The last cookie.
You can get a new box of cookies in as fast as an hour with Walmart Express Delivery.
Are you my guilty self-conscience?
No, I'm the voice offering you promo code EXPRESS for free delivery on your first order.
Hey, who ate my cookies?
You mean, these cookies?
Order now. Welcome to your Walmart. Promotion valid for first express delivery order. $50 minimum subject to availability. Restrictions apply.
We are not a company that makes decisions on gut or feeling, right? Or vibe, right? We're doing it based on data, 100%, right? No decision is made without data. So, we have a lot of KPIs that we're tracking to determine when the time is right. Because, listen, you don't want to have to turn customers away because you didn't plan appropriately for the number of trucks and technicians you need, right?
Hello, everyone, and thanks again for tuning in to the latest edition of Fran Coach's Franchising 101 podcast. I am Tim Parmeter, founder and CEO of Fran Coach and your podcast host. Today, we're going to welcome in one of our franchise partners to discuss their brand. This particular franchise is in the home service space. Typically, is going to fall into the maintain category. If you've ever heard us talk about how to break up home service in an easy to understand way, enhance, maintain, and repair. This is maintain, super duper simple, incredibly low overhead, easy to scale, recurring revenue, multiple services, and even more than the name of the franchise may suggest. So can be a full-time owner, can be a part-time owner, lots of opportunity here for this one. But first, a quick reminder of who we are. And Fran Coach is a national search firm dedicated to working with individuals like yourself interested in owning a franchise. We are partnered with well over 600 franchises now in more than 80 different industries. Our goal is first, number one, properly educate you on franchise ownership to determine if you should own one, and if so, which one. We're going to help you determine your best fit. So that is us. And coming with us to join us with a minute is the Director of Franchise Development for our featured brand, Mosquito Squad, Jason Henshaw. Jason is next. All right, folks, we are back, and our guest today joining us again is Mr. Jason Henshaw from Mosquito Squad. Jason, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Tim. I appreciate it.
We appreciate it now. You don't know, like I totally lied to you before we came on, and I'm like, hey, it's easy. I just lob them in, but I got some hard hitting questions here. You're probably in the next 5 minutes going to be tearing up. So
let's go.
Be ready. We've got a bunch of questions about good old Mosquito Squad. I'm really curious as to what that business might do, but let's come back to that for a second. Franchising, as you well know, is a people business. And I always like to hear about the people and their stories. So give us, before we get to Mosquito Squad, give us the Jason story, kind of your background, and how'd you get into this crazy thing called franchising?
Yeah. So about 15 years ago, I had my own business on the side. It's like a side hustle, and I was working for someone full time as well. And so I kind of had the entrepreneurial bug. I wanted to do something, but I wasn't ready to take the leap, right? To fully go on and do something on my own and leave the W-2 behind. And so a friend of mine started a business. And that's where it started. It was just a single location. And it was doing so well that, like most franchisors, how they started, takes off like wildfire, and they're like, let's franchise this baby, right? So they did that and came and met him for a separate occasion, and turned out that he had 6 franchisees already. And he's like, you want to buy one? So I first I was like, let me think about it. But I saw like line out the door, like business was taking off like crazy. So I made the leap. I jumped in, and they were sending candidates to me for validation, right? Like most franchisors
Right.
do. And I was closing them. They were going back to headquarters and signing, right? So like whatever you're saying, I was just basically telling them what I was doing and what kind of
Right.
money I'm making, right? Just being super transparent. And so brought me on to corporate and came on as development person, help with their operations. So basically I've been on all sides. I've been on operations, been on development. The only thing I haven't been is a coach or consultant. But I've been on all sides. And I think, having that background of being a business owner, and not only just a business owner, but in a franchise space, kind of gives me that connection, right? Between the candidates that I speak to. So, that's my story. And I think you would agree, Tim, most people didn't just wake up one day and say, I want to be in franchising, right? You fall into it somehow. And that's kind of my story.
Yeah, fall in it somehow, and then you never seem to leave. You may bounce around and do some different things, but you're here, and I think and so many of us have at some point owned a franchise along this journey as well. And I always feel like it helps, when your experience, you had that W-2 job, and that paycheck every 2 weeks is it's like the addiction, right? And to be able to help walk people through that fear, you live that fear. So like, have you found that experience has helped you in this particular role?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just straight up. I'm like, listen, you're going to be scared, right? You're human. You're not a robot, right? You got feelings, you got emotions, right? It's normal. If you weren't, I'd be worried, right? There's something wrong with you, that you're spending this money to invest in the business and you have no fears whatsoever, right? That wouldn't be normal. So I always just straight up, bring it up on my own and say, hey, I had these same fears. I totally get it. But, it's the data, and I'm sure you've shared this a million times, that SBA and other organizations collect about the success rate of small businesses. And with franchising, it's night and day. It's radically different, the success rate with franchising.
Yeah. And it's funny, like they always use it in that term, but even like success is relative, right? And so whatever franchise it might be, people always think the top performers are going to be the happiest. Well, sometimes they're the cranky ones because they're never happy, right? Which is what's driven them to the top. There's somebody sitting in the middle that's just like happy as a pig and right? Because they're making the money that they want to make, the time they're spending, they're doing what they want to do, they're around the right people. That's the goal of this. And so super cool you've had that experience. And now with Mosquito Squad, so always kind of look at this from a consumer standpoint first. In franchising, pretty safe to say we ain't too smart, because the name of the franchise is somewhat obvious as to what they are doing.
Sure.
But talk about Mosquito Squad. What is the business doing, and kind of who are those customers?
Yeah, great question. So, and it's timely because we just changed our name last month. So it's not like out there crazy yet, but it will be. So it's Mosquito Squad Plus now. And the reason we've done that is because we originated the model. 20 years ago, we were the first in the space doing mosquito treatment for households. And, but because we invented the model over 20 years, like any business, you've got to evolve, right? Adapt or die. And so we've adapted today and evolved to being full service pest control. So inside the house, outside the house, pests that eat the lawn, all that. One-stop shop for all pest needs for the home. So that is something that we officially launched as of last month. But it's been in the making, right? With franchising, right? You can't just flip a switch and say, this is what we're doing now, right? There's training, there's onboarding, all the existing owners have to adapt to that new product or service. And so that'll happen. And now we're launching it, full scale across the system. So it's a little bit of a misnomer. It was a misnomer. We were a Mosquito Squad. Now we're Mosquito Squad Plus, which kind of connotates that we're more than just mosquitoes.
Gotcha. Okay. Very cool. And so, I'm going to be really honest. I didn't even know that. So that's, so you threw that one at me. So that's awesome. Which probably just means I didn't read an email somewhere that came out at some point, but, the owners, just people in general, but franchise owners love change, right? Like, wait, you're doing what? to my model. I don't care how much better it's going to make it. Wait, you're doing what? How's that been received by everybody?
Yeah, flying colors receive really well because money, right?
Right.
in a very simple term, right? More revenue potential. But what was happening prior, and other brands that just do mosquito, they're probably suffering from this, is that there's seasonality to the mosquito, right? In the winter months, they go away. I'm in South Florida. We're pretty close to a 12-month market here, but we do get some respite for a month or two where mosquitoes kind of either go away completely or, lessen. And so because of that, right, if you're just beholden to the seasonality of the mosquito, guess what? You're not doing much during the winter months. So adding these additional lines of revenue for pests that, let's face it, when it gets cold out, they go into the home, creates opportunity for us year round. So those customers that were only using us for, 6 to 8 months a year, now they're becoming, 10 to 12 months.
Gotcha. Yeah, absolutely. Because you're basically always going to say yes, right? So if somebody, I'm guessing in the past, like, hey, can you spray inside? Like, no, sorry, we can't.
Right.
Now you become the yes business for any sort of critter flying around, whatever. Like, and I'm in Arizona, so I grew up in the Midwest, so mosquitoes were like, you didn't go anywhere without like bug spray, right? But Arizona, it's not as big of a thing, but I also don't want freaking scorpions rolling around my house either, right? So again, now you've got that, and so everybody's kind of getting transitioned. So now all the new owners coming on, they're going to have the ability from go to have all of those services under their business, correct? Correct,
exactly. That's going to be part of our training, onboarding to learn all of those services and offer those lines of services to our customers.
Gotcha. Hey everyone, I wanted to take a quick break from our podcast to tell you about our amazing friends at Entrepreneur. If you're looking to become a franchisee or simply learn more about business ownership, and guys, let's be honest, you're listening to the Franchising 101 podcast, so we know you have some interest in this. And I really encourage you to go to entrepreneur.com to check out all of their great content and resources. Seriously, Entrepreneur has everything, all the way from a bookstore to the best podcasts, webinars, and videos, plus information on upcoming events and the latest articles that seriously, they cover all aspects of franchising and business ownership. If you're having trouble deciding which franchise is right for you, start with Entrepreneur's renowned Franchise 500 ranking, which highlights the best franchises of 2022. For 45 years and counting now, Entrepreneur has been and continues to be the most widely recognized and respected authority in the franchising market. Digital and print subscriptions are available, so you never miss out on anything. So seriously, what are you waiting for? Go to entrepreneur.com right now and learn more.
Every cup of Nespresso coffee is an invitation to transform your morning routine into a ritual you can treasure each and every day. Using the Virtuo Pop, a simple touch of the button freshly brews bold aromas and a rich, velvety crema layer for delicious cafe-quality coffee at home. Whether you enjoy your coffee hot or over ice, every sip, every morning is unforgettable. Nothing tastes like Nespresso coffee. Visit Nespresso.com or our app to explore our full range of easy-to-use machines and coffees not found anywhere else.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. From your morning podcast to your afternoon playlist, State Farm knows you personalize your entire day, and that's why State Farm helps you personalize your insurance with the State Farm Personal Price Plan. It offers coverage options that help protect what you care about most at an affordable price just for you. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Prices vary by state. Options selected by customer. Availability and eligibility may vary.
So for talk a little bit about maybe the owner piece of this, right? So, and what are some of the things you're looking for in an owner? And I want you to kind of maybe start with like dispelling the old myth of like, if I want to be an owner of Mosquito Squad, do I need years of like killing bugs experience? I know that happens a lot. People tend to think they need that, but I'm guessing you have most of your owners have like, maybe they stepped on an ant or something or swatted a fly, but they weren't doing this professionally, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. None of our owners came from the pest control world, so it's definitely not required. And so, but there is licensing required, right? You're spraying chemicals, right? So
Right.
most states, EPA and other regulatory bodies require some sort of licensing for people to handle and distribute and utilize those products. So, but we don't launch any business. We never, we wouldn't launch you without having those licenses in place. And so, part of our promise to you is to make sure that we get those things, right? Because if you're not making money, neither are we, right? We're not collecting royalties. So, so we're going to assist you and help you get those licensing. We're going to walk you through all the training you need for equipment and for proper use and disposal of chemicals, et cetera.
Gotcha. Okay. And then I want to focus on the owner here for a second. So first off, a simple question. Do you require that owners are full-time, or are you open to someone being semi-absentee?
Yeah, we offer both owner operator and semi-absentee. I always like to say when somebody comes forward and they want to do semi-absentee is, it's blaringly obvious, but it's going to cost you more, right? You're paying a guy or gal to do what you would be doing.
Right.
So that money's got to come from somewhere, right? So always, again, blaringly obvious, but I always like to be super transparent about it. What we're looking for in an owner really, though, is, someone that can lead a team. You're going to have a team of technicians out there. And we teach you a lot of those, employee retention tactics and management tactics to do that. But if you have that background, I'm talking about ideal owner, right? Perfect world would be have that some business acumen, know how to lead a team, comfortable with being outdoors because, in the beginning, you're going to have to do it, to learn it. But, it's definitely not required. Only thing that would require is someone that's going to be active in their business. If they're going to be an owner operator to help drive that business, we have a lot of support around driving success. We have business advisors. We have a whole full support team in house. These people are there their goal really is the profitability of each and every one of our franchise partners. So that's really what they're looking to achieve with every owner. And they're right there alongside of you to kind of make sure that those things are happening on a monthly basis. We meet.
And so you are, as an owner, and you kind of alluded to this, right? Hey, you're going to learn how to do the work, right? No different than a McDonald's owner learns how to make French fries.
Right.
They don't spend all day every day making fries, right?
Correct.
And I'm guessing you may have a little different startup for some owners may be really active. Hey, I really want to be out on the truck and doing the work at the beginning. Others may financially have the ability to kind of build a team earlier on. It sounds like kind of some combination there of either one is you're going to learn how to do it. You're going to know how to do it, but the goal is for you to have a team. So you can kind of elevate yourself out of that being the doer piece, correct?
Correct. So, we like to say less in the business, more on the business, right? So, that's how it starts out in the beginning. It's one truck, one technician. Most of our owner operators, that technician in the beginning, at the very beginning, is them. And it's a twofold thing, right? One part of it is learning the business so you can better communicate to your staff. The other part of it is you don't want to hand the keys to that brand new shiny truck with all that equipment and chemical, your investment to some stranger. You want to be able to kind of ride along with them for a little bit, teach them the ropes, make sure that they're right fit for your brand culturally, for your location. And then let them go off on their own. And then once you've done that with that first employee, then it's more of a rinse and repeat, right? As your location grows and you get more customers and more demand, you're gonna get to capacity with that truck. You have to add another one and just do that over and over as many times as you can with your territory, as long as the demand is there.
Yeah, and ideally that first technician ends up being the person that now that new person is doing the ride along with technician number one, right? Bringing people up, right? And so, how much of the business is residential versus commercial? I'm sure that can vary market to market, but is it only residential, or do you guys tap into the commercial side as well?
Well, yeah, we definitely do commercial. We kind of have an anomalous bucket, 20%. So it's 80% residential, 20% that's commercial, governmental, municipality is kind of in that bucket that's like non-residential. So these are things like golf courses, event spaces where they hold weddings or outdoor events, right? They want to be pest free. Like I said, local municipalities, plazas, things like that are all opportunities for commercial work with this business.
Gotcha. Well, I would think, any structure, if I go to work somewhere, heaven forbid I actually get a job and I have to go somewhere, or if I go out to eat or I go into a place of business, I don't really want to see little creepy crawlies going around there either, right? So, I mean, again, kind of like basically with the plus component of Mosquito Squad now, is it fair to say basically every structure out there is a potential customer?
That's right. That's right. We can treat any structure, whether it's a home or, like you said, a business. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And again, I think one of maybe the knock sometimes on the mosquito and the kind of the outdoor space is, well, hey, there's going to be some seasonality. Well,
right.
Yes, but does it mean that you can't still build a great business with seasonality and just work a little less in the wintertime? But this really like kind of lessens that a great deal. Those northern states becomes more year round. Some place like Arizona that maybe doesn't have a ton of mosquitoes. Yeah, but we got all the other stuff, right? Really, I would assume everybody within Mosquito Squad Plus is really excited kind of about this change and transformation, correct?
Yeah, super excited. We always say mosquito first, right? It's the gateway drug, right? It's the thing that gets us our foot in the door, right? They call us for mosquito and they find out, oh, wow, you can take care of my home too. Oh, wow, you can help me with my lawn and get that, the chinch bugs or whatever they have going out in there, right? So it's kind of a happy surprise, right? And there's a lot of marketing that we do around to make sure that they know we're full service, but that definitely gets our foot in the door. So all of our packages are going to include mosquito, but we have these additional lines or packages that we can create specifically for whatever the homeowner needs.
Gotcha. What you talked a little bit about probably a truck and a technician to start with. The stuff we are spraying, like what are some of every now and then people may have some questions around that, like, hey, is that, like how harmful is that? Probably questions you hear all the time. It has a really simple answer to, but I know that pops up into, it's probably some people that don't really care, right, about that. But kids, pets, all of those, like the things that we tend to like in our life, the kids occasionally, the pets usually, right? Spouses occasionally, but what all of those things, talk a little bit about kind of what's actually out there being used.
Yeah, so that's a great question. It's a big differentiator for our brand. It's just part of our culture. And the fact that our first line of defense is always going to be, we have organic, natural products. They're natural. They're made from flowers and other plant material. But it doesn't work on every pest that we treat, right? So then we have to use synthetics. And so when we use synthetic products, we also do something different there, and that is that we always use something. It's a product. There's different chemicals out there, but whatever we do use, it meets the lowest standard for hazard by the EPA. So what does that mean? That means that once it dries on plant material, it's usually a minute or two. It's safe to the touch for pets, humans, toddlers, whatever. They're not going to get sick from touching it. And we take it a step further, that part of our training for all of our technicians is that we are very conscious about pollinators. We only spray the leaf material, the foliar material, as they call it. We do not spray the flower. That's where the stamen is, where the pollinators are going, right, to get the pollen. So there's a lot of effort done around this. Again, I think it's a big differentiator. Most pest control companies out there are just going to spray wildly and they don't care about pollinators. They're going to use the nuclear stuff to treat the yard, right? They're just trying to kill as much stuff as possible. Well, we know from an educated perspective, we have entomologists on staff, that's not necessary. The stuff we're using meets the standard. We back it up with a satisfaction guarantee. What that means for us is we're putting our money where our mouth is. We're saying, hey, if we don't get it right the first time, we're coming back for free at no cost to you until we do get it right. So we track that, and it's less than 1.5%. So over 98.5% of the time with all of our customers, we're getting it right the first time. And so that's just a testament to, hey, we're not just doing this for lip service. We're doing it the right way, and it actually works.
Yeah. I wish I was 98 0.5% right when it came to my wife, her opinion of me. So like, that's fantastic. Right. And so I think, which the irony is she literally texted me right there when I said that. So, so just kidding, honey, love you. Staff, we're starting small. And then usually like, you guys are probably no different than a lot of service businesses. Like, we're not messing around as far as, gee, when do we add another truck, another technician? There's some pretty well-defined metrics for that. So for that owner, hey, I want to look to grow. And I'm like, how do I get 5 trucks and 10 techs and all this stuff? All of that's kind of really well laid out for them. So they're going to know what their growth goals are. Kind of talk how you guys kind of walk them through that, and even some of the coaching that goes into that.
Yeah. So, I always like to say, and the brand president always says that when we have our, meet your team days and president calls, that we are not a company that makes decisions on gut or feeling, right? Or vibe, right? We're doing it based on data, 100%, right? No decision is made without data. So, we have a lot of KPIs that we're tracking to determine when the time is right. Because listen, you don't want to have to turn customers away because you didn't plan appropriately for the number of trucks and technicians you need, right? That's the horrible place to be, right? So we're tracking that, and we're making sure that we're launching that. We're the first step is purchasing a vehicle, outfitting that vehicle, hiring that person, training that person, so that we can make sure that we meet the demand ahead of time for that customer. It's a great segue to talk about item 19 data that references performance across our system. So the average truck in our system does about $150,000 in gross revenue per truck. So in most of in fact, on average, our territories are doing about $500,000. So 3 trucks per territory is what we see on average, right? But the potential there is even higher because our top 25% is doing about 1.1 in top line revenue. So we're talking about 6 trucks, for those top 25% territories. But it takes time to get there. Right? You're not going to do that in year one. I hope you do.
Right, like maybe day 3, somewhere in there, you should be right. You should be there.
Yeah, that seems fair.
But no, and I think it's also there's certain things in the FDD, the franchise disclosure document, for folks maybe haven't heard that term before, that there are some things in there that are beneficial. There's a lot of stuff in there that's really not, as far as finding the best thing. But that some of those things, when people look at top line revenue, it's easy to get caught up in that. That's top line. That's not bottom line. And when you're looking at something like Mosquito Squad, where you're sitting there and you're going, sorry, Mosquito Squad Plus, I gotta get used to that one. So there's not a lot of overhead and expenses, right? We're not looking at 3,000 square foot of Class A real estate, right? We got a person, we got a truck, we got marketing expenses, we got some stuff. But when we're starting, do we even need an office, or what does that look like at the beginning?
Yeah, so that's a great point, right? So it's not brick and mortar, so there's no cost overhead affiliated with build out, construction, landlord, utilities, et cetera, right? So you start from home. You're utilizing, this is small equipment. This is not gigantic trucks and stuff. It's a pickup truck and a spray rig, which can fit inside of a garage or a shed. And you can utilize that in the beginning. That's like kind of the simplest, cheapest way to do it. But if you don't have a garage or a shed or the space, you can get a 10 by 10 storage unit and utilize that, right? So there's no reason why you can't get this off the ground in a simple way. And that's majority of our owners, that's what they're using. They're using storage facilities. They're parking the trucks there. But over time, you're going to outgrow that, right? You're going to have so many trucks and employees that, the storage unit ain't working no more, right? But good thing is that by the time you're doing that, the revenue is going to be commensurate with the ability to pay for those additional things. And so what we see, to your point, you're making $500,000, $1 million a year, but at the end of the day, that's great top line revenue. Well, what are you bringing home, right? Yeah, like that's where the rubber meets the road. And so, to your point, there's not a lot of overhead, right? There's a simple model. We spray for bugs. You got chemical, you got your guy, you got your truck and fuel, and some marketing. That's pretty much it. And so because of that, we're seeing around 25 to 30% EBITDA.
Yeah. And that's always kind of, I tell every one of our clients when they start, like, how do I, how much money I make? Like, yes, we need to understand, first, the money follows the fit. So if you're hearing something about a franchise and like, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't care how much money the owners are making. You're not going to get there, right? The money follows the fit, and I don't want to figure out the money. Well, great. How much does it cost to run the business? You got to understand that part first. And again, we don't need a whole lot of like lines on the spreadsheet to do a pro forma for this, right?
Right.
You started rattling off the brick and mortar. Like that's all before you're ever getting open and you're paying for that forever.
That's right.
We need a truck. We need a place to park it. Maybe that costs a little bit, maybe not, right? You're going to have the supplies and you're going to have a person like at the beginning. And that's really it. And then replicate those things moving forward. So super simple. The other thing I think is great about this is it's recurring, right? I mean, these are like I guess you could go and spray one time,
yeah,
but this is for the most part, it's no different than like fitness. This is a membership model, right? So once you get them do a good job, that customer retention for this has got to be through the roof, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So majority of what we're doing is subscription based, contract driven. There are those one-offs, like I mentioned, event spaces. They have a wedding plan and they want to have you come out the night before and make sure that you spray and so that things are fine. But that's very minimal across our system. So residential, like I said, is our lion's share. We're getting on that property every single month to treat for whatever pests they're looking to treat. So if we're in Arizona, or we're getting rid of those scorpions. And so, because of that, there's an easier planning, right? You can guarantee your revenue long ahead of time. It's going to help you manage your books a lot better. But there's two ancillary effects that I like to mention that happen naturally by getting on our property every month. One is you get to know that customer, they get to know you. You are going to get referrals. A lot of them. We live off referrals. And especially if they're enjoying their outdoor space now, they're not having to deal with the pests. So they're going to tell people about it. Also, all of our vehicles are wrapped from head to toe, right? With the logo, the guy on the side, bright green colors. It's a mobile billboard. It's marketing to that neighborhood every single month. Your number's emblazoned on the side. Pests are not selective. If they're in one yard, they're in a neighbor's yard. They are going to call you. So I always like to mention that it's just a natural effect of being on the property every month.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not like Billy Bob and his beat up pickup truck coming out there. I mean, that it is a true differentiator in how a franchise model and just in service in general, is going to show up. It is a nice, pretty wrapped vehicle. We're showing up like we've got a shirt, a polo, something in like logo there, right? All of those things, is there. Right. And then, the other thing I was going to ask you, and I actually kind of mentally drew a blank because I was going to ask another question I wanted to come back to, but with this from a support standpoint, talk about maybe something really like every franchise, like, hey, we support you. There's a business plan. It's kind of the whole point of the franchise, right? But franchises are no different than people. We all have certain strengths. Hey, we're really good at this.
Right.
I'm okay at that, right? For Mosquito Squad Plus, what do you look at and you really hang your hat and go, man, we are awesome at the support in this area or that area? Yeah.
So, I really think that I would put our operations team against anybody. We built it out over the course of 20 years. There's a lot of experience in those halls at our headquarters, from all the way up to the brand president to entomologists and operational support teams. But the really thing that I always like to point to that I think is maybe not a differentiator, but I think we do it really well is our business advisors. So who are they? These are existing owners that we gave a job. They're a top performer and we say, hey, we want you to come on board with corporate because we think who better to give advice to our newbies than our existing folks that are operating at a high level, right? So they're going to be able to share that. And so these are not a lot of operational teams in franchise organizations will hire someone outside that maybe is from the field or whatever, but these are not that. These are not some lackey that we hired out the street that never owned a business for, doesn't know anything about pest control. These are your peers, right? They're living and breathing, doing this every day. And so they're going to be able to kind of walk you through the things you need to do to kind of improve success because they're successful. They're also regional, so they're going to understand your regional competition, pricing, pests, etc. You're not going to stump them, right? They're going to be able to answer anything you can possibly think of. Phone call, email, text away. We do monthly business review calls. We're open up KPI and P&L data to see where you're performing month on month. because we know from month one to maturity where you're supposed to be. So we make sure we're hitting those milestones, and we physically come out annually, because the black and white data, the KPI and P&L is great, but it doesn't tell the whole story. You got to get boots on the ground and kind of make sure that you're being successful, right? Again, the success of our franchise partners is number one for us. But there's some additional things that we do that are important. We have an FAC. This is a franchise advisory council, because at the end of the day, every owner from a franchise, just like we talked about at the top of the call, we're not born in a vacuum, right? We didn't just wake up and learn franchising. They did other things, right? Either in the financial field or some other field that's going to add value to the system. So we definitely tap into that, and we have a really strong FAC. And the last thing I would add about our culture and our support is we have our owners conference coming up at the end of this month, getting ready to go to it in Dallas. And I went for the first time last year, right after I joined the brand, and they had 95% turnout. It's a big deal.
Wow, that is.
What does that mean, right? That this is optional. This is not mandatory for them to attend. So, and they're paying for it, right? They're paying for their flight and their hotel and their food and all. So the fact that they want to come and spend a few days with us on their dime, and by the way, half of those brought their owners with them, their managers with them as well, right? So those owners, it was +1, so more expenses. So that really speaks to the culture, how ingrained it is, how on board our owners are, and with the support and the business advisors, shows that they're not just doing it for themselves, right? They're paying it forward to our existing owners, our new owners as well. Yeah, no, I love that, and I think one of the hidden elements and kind of levers of support in franchising is the other owners, right? Oh, the franchise has blah blah blah, all this stuff. Yes, that's the franchise. Sure. Which ones really have their owners that are open and communicate back and forth? And you guys have taken that extra level with those advisors and the FAQ, and the fact that you got that high of a percentage of your owners that are showing up to an annual conference that, let's be honest, isn't in a resort on a beach someplace. They're going to freaking Dallas in February. Nothing against Dallas, but would I rather be in Cancun or Dallas? I'm probably going to choose the one that has a beach. But no, that's super cool. And I love all of this. And I'm going to throw one last thing at you, Jason, and I'm putting you on the spot with this one. Yeah. Anything else that we haven't talked about? I'm sure we could go, we're in franchising, we could go for hours, right? But sure. Anything else in particular about Mosquito Squad Plus that you want to share with us? Yeah. So big differentiators, because let's face it, just super transparent. You know this, Tim. There's a lot of mosquito brands in franchising, right? It's easy to mix us up. But I'm going to give you some things that if you leave anything from this call, I want you to leave with these differentiators to kind of make sure that that we're not like the other girls, right? We're different, right? And so one thing I would point out is no royalties. Kind of bearing the lead, no royalties for the first year. So for the first 12 months, you're enjoying royalty-free business, because we want you to perform at the highest level, right? And year one's tough with any business, right? We can't control what you pay your employees. We can't control your fuel cost and all those other expenses, but we do control the royalty. So we're going to play an active role in keeping your costs down in year one, so you can ramp up, grow, pay back that debt service, whatever expenses you're going to incur. We're trying to gain that market share, additional marketing you might want to do. So be able to focus on learning and running the business and not worry about paying a royalty. On that same line, we build into our investment a full year's worth of working capital. And why is this important? Well, most franchisors put 3 months in, right? That's pretty much the standard. We do 4x that because, again, we're not playing games here. We want you to be successful. We have a high success rate in this brand, for a reason. And it's because we spend a lot of time and effort, not only on the training and like we talked about, the advisors that kind of ensure ongoing that is happening. But from the very beginning, we're saying, hey, come to the table with this cash. If you use it all, great. That's why it's there. If not, that's fine too, right? We just want to make sure that you're not coming ready to be over-prepared than under-prepared. And so that's a big differentiator. Most franchisors really are kind of being unrealistic by saying 3 months. You're going to run through that really quickly. And then what are you going to do then, right? Either go borrow more money or dig back into your pockets. Right. Another differentiator is territory size. Our territories are gigantic. 350 to 500,000 people. So we give a lot of the territory away every time we open one. Most of our competitors in the franchise space are somewhere around 200 to 300,000. So get a lot of territory. Why is that important? Performance, more opportunity, more potential customers. So we talked about our item 19 data. Our average franchisee is doing about 500,000 per territory. And that's one of the reasons why. So our next highest competitor in the space is somewhere around half that, right? Because there're just not enough customers to satisfy that type of revenue potential. So those are kind of the big ones, the big differentiators that I would say. And then the last thing we've talked about, the Mosquito Squad Plus, we are full service. We're not just mosquitoes. And that's another big differentiator. Not all of our competitors are doing
that. That's a huge one. And I want to go back to the royalty thing. So just for people that may not know this, there's a lot of, like, I don't know, we could do a whole month's worth of podcasts on the misconceptions and myths in franchising. Like, oh, they're just trying to sell me the franchise to get the franchise fee. Franchises don't make money off the franchise fee. That's already like, do you know what? Jason's got a big ass salary, folks. We got to pay that, right? And so, and all the people that Mosquito Squad Plus has to pay to onboard you, train you, all of those things before you ever get open, that franchise fee is gone. How they make money is the royalties. And so that you're so committed to the success of the owners that you're not going to take a dime for them for the first year they're open is like, I can count on one hand how many franchises do any sort of remote thing like that. And I probably still have a finger or two left. So that is a great commitment to the success of your new folks. So this has been fantastic. Jason, man, I greatly appreciate you coming on and joining us today.
Thank you, Tim. Thanks for having me. I'm glad we were able to learn something new about the brand that you didn't already know. That's always a good sign.
Excellent. Yes, I did. The heck with everybody else, all 7 of our listeners, but I'm sure they did too. But no, I appreciate you coming on today, Jason. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tim.
And thanks again to Jason Henshaw from Mosquito Squad Plus. I got to remember to say the plus now. I learned something totally new on this one about them. So thanks to Jason for joining us. And thanks, as always, to our loyal listeners for tuning in. I hope these episodes continue to provide some insight into the amazing possibilities that can be achieved in franchise ownership. When you're ready to chat, the Fran Coach team is here. francoach.net is where you find us. Don't also remember every Friday, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. 8 Eastern? I just did that backwards. 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. We're discriminated against on the West Coast, so I'm going to keep doing it that way. 5 Pacific, 8 Eastern, on Biz TV, the Franchising 360 show, not the Franchising 360 show, with me, my co-host, the lovely, talented, significantly better half of mine, Danielle Wright, talking about all sorts of fun things. We're talking about the C word in franchising tomorrow night. Competition is where I was going with that. So tune in there. And then next week, we're jumping into March. And I am super excited for this. The second year in a row, the entire month of March, we are focused on, it's Women's History Month. We are focused on the amazing women in franchising. We got some awesome ones rolling in here to join us for that. Until next week, thanks again for tuning in to the Franchising 101 podcast. And we will talk to you soon. Thanks so much.